Silence can be one of the loudest messages a person sends, especially when it comes from someone who once carried everyone else's emotions. The friend who always listened stops answering calls. The family member who never judged grows quiet. The person who always found the right words no longer feels the need to explain themselves. To others, it may seem cold or distant. But in reality, this silence is often the final stage of years spent giving without receiving, listening without being heard, and carrying emotional burdens that were never theirs to bear. People often describe an empath as someone who deeply senses the emotions of others. They notice sadness behind a smile, tension in a room, and pain hidden in silence. Their kindness makes others feel safe, but without healthy boundaries, that same kindness can become emotionally exhausting. Over time, constantly putting everyone else's needs first leaves little energy for themselves. Many empathetic people struggle to say no. They take on extra responsibilities, forgive repeated hurt, and sacrifice their own peace to avoid disappointing others. Eventually, emotional exhaustion sets in. Psychology recognizes this as compassion fatigue and burnout, not signs of weakness, but natural consequences of carrying too much for too long. The breaking point rarely arrives with dramatic arguments or emotional outbursts. More often, it comes quietly. They stop chasing people who don't value them. They stop fixing every problem and begin protecting their own peace. Some relationships grow stronger through these new boundaries, while others fall apart, revealing who truly cared and who simply depended on endless emotional support. In this video, we'll explore why empaths ignore their own needs for so long, how emotional exhaustion quietly builds over time, and why their breaking point is often misunderstood. We'll also uncover the psychological reasons behind this transformation and the powerful lessons that emerge when someone finally chooses self-respect over self-sacrifice. By the end, you may see silence differently. What looks like distance may actually be healing. What seems like selfishness may simply be long overdue self-respect. If you enjoy exploring psychology, emotional intelligence, and human behavior, subscribe to the channel and join our community. Now, let's discover what really happens when an empath finally reaches their breaking point. The breaking point rarely begins with one painful event. It starts quietly, long before anyone notices a change. People who feel deeply often become the person everyone turns to without even realizing it. Friends call whenever life becomes difficult because they know they will be heard instead of judged. Family members depend on them to keep everyone together during stressful times. At work, coworkers unload their frustrations because they know someone will patiently listen. Over time, they become everyone's safe place. People leave their conversations feeling lighter, while they quietly walk away carrying emotions that were never theirs to begin with. This is where the hidden burden begins. They do not simply hear another person's pain, they absorb it. A friend's disappointment stays in their mind for hours. A family member's anxiety becomes something they continue thinking about long after the conversation has ended. Someone else's problems begin to feel like their own responsibility. Instead of saying, "I hope things work out," they start asking themselves, "What else can I do?" They replay conversations, search for better advice, and worry about situations they cannot control. Without realizing it, they stop being a listener and become an emotional carrier. The more people depend on them, the harder it becomes to admit that they are struggling too. They become known as the strong one, the calm one, the understanding one. When everyone sees you as the person who always has the answers, asking for help can feel uncomfortable. They convince themselves that other people have bigger problems. They tell themselves to stay strong just a little longer. So instead of opening up, they hide what they feel behind a smile. They continue encouraging everyone else while quietly running out of emotional energy. Another reason this cycle continues is guilt. Saying no feels wrong. Choosing themselves feels selfish. They worry that setting boundaries will disappoint people they love. So they agree to one more favor, answer one more late-night phone call, and take on one more emotional burden. Every decision seems small on its own, but together they create a weight that grows heavier every single day. They keep believing they can carry it because they always have before. The hardest part is that nobody notices the pressure building inside them. From the outside, they still seem kind, patient, and dependable. They still remember birthdays. They still check on friends. They still offer comfort whenever someone needs them. But inside, exhaustion is slowly replacing peace. Their own emotions are pushed aside to make room for everyone else's. They become so focused on helping others survive that they forget to ask themselves one simple question: who is taking care of me? This emotional overload does not happen because they are weak. It happens because they have spent years giving more than they allow themselves to receive. Every problem they carry, every emotion they absorb, and every responsibility they accept quietly drains them. The breaking point is not created in a single day. It is built one conversation, one sacrifice, and one silent struggle at a time. At first, they believe they can handle it, until one day, they can't. Most people expect someone who has reached their limit to become angry or frustrated. But for someone who has spent years carrying emotional weight, the first sign is usually much quieter. It is exhaustion. Not the kind that disappears after a good night's sleep, but a deep emotional tiredness that follows them everywhere. They wake up feeling drained before the day has even started. Tasks that once felt simple now seem overwhelming. Even small responsibilities require more effort than they used to. This change often happens so slowly that they barely notice it themselves. They begin losing interest in things they once enjoyed. Conversations that used to make them happy now feel emotionally demanding. Instead of looking forward to meeting people, they start hoping for quiet moments where nobody asks anything from them. Their phone rings, and instead of feeling excited, they hesitate before answering. It is not because they no longer care, it is because they have nothing left to give. Their motivation also begins to fade. They still go through their daily routine, but something feels different. They are physically present, yet emotionally distant. Smiling starts to feel like work. Listening becomes harder. They catch themselves staring into space because their mind is simply tired. Even small problems begin to feel much bigger than they really are. A simple misunderstanding, a delayed message, or an unexpected change of plans suddenly feels overwhelming because their emotional reserves are already empty. Many people misunderstand this stage. Friends may think they have become lazy or distant. Family members may wonder why they seem less enthusiastic than before. Some assume they are overreacting or becoming negative, but the truth is much deeper. Their mind and body are asking for something they have ignored for years: rest. Their nervous system has spent so much time responding to everyone else's emotions that it no longer knows how to relax. Psychologists often describe this as emotional burnout. When a person constantly gives emotional support without enough time to recover, the brain begins protecting itself by reducing emotional energy. It is not a choice, it is a survival response. The same heart that once wanted to help everyone now struggles just to make it through the day. This is why emotional exhaustion can feel confusing. They still care about people, but they no longer have the strength to carry everyone's pain. Many highly empathetic people feel guilty during this stage. They wonder why they are becoming impatient. They question why they want more time alone. They blame themselves for not being as kind or energetic as they used to be. Instead of recognizing burnout, they believe they are failing as a friend, partner, or family member. They try even harder to be available for everyone, not realizing that pushing themselves further only makes the exhaustion worse. This is often the moment when they begin noticing a painful truth. No matter how much they give, there will always be someone asking for more. There will always be another problem to solve, another crisis to comfort, another person expecting their support. For the first time, they start wondering whether constantly sacrificing themselves is really helping anyone at all. Most people mistake this for laziness, but something much deeper is happening. Eventually, a quiet shift begins inside them. It is not driven by anger, it is driven by acceptance. After years of trying to fix every problem, they slowly realize that not everyone wants to change. Some people want comfort without responsibility. Others want advice but never intend to follow it. They begin seeing the same patterns repeated again and again, the same complaints, the same excuses, the same choices leading to the same results. For years, they believed that if they just loved people enough, supported them enough, or stayed patient long enough, everything would eventually improve. But life teaches a difficult lesson. No one can heal another person who refuses to heal themselves. Change always begins with personal choice, and no amount of kindness can replace that decision. This realization changes the way they respond. They stop giving endless advice that nobody follows. They stop rescuing people from the consequences of their own actions. They stop solving problems that were never theirs to solve. Instead of feeling responsible for everyone's happiness, they begin focusing on protecting their own peace. To people who were used to unlimited access, this change feels shocking. Some immediately call them selfish. Others say they have changed, but they have not become selfish. They have simply learned that healthy relationships require boundaries. They finally understand that caring for others should never mean abandoning themselves. For the first time in years, they begin saying no without apologizing. They stop feeling guilty for needing rest. They choose silence instead of arguments that lead nowhere. They become more careful about where they invest their emotional energy because they finally understand that it is limited. Every yes now has value because it is no longer given automatically. This new version of them may seem unfamiliar, but it is actually more balanced than ever before. Their kindness has not disappeared, it has become wiser. They still care deeply, but they no longer believe they must carry every burden to prove it. And that's when relationships begin to change. The biggest surprise often comes from the people around them. Those who were used to endless patience suddenly feel confused when they hear the word no. Those who relied on constant emotional support begin wondering why things feel different. Some take it personally because they were comfortable with the old version of this person. They mistake healthy boundaries for rejection. A few people may even accuse them of changing. They say things like, "You used to care," or "You're not the same anymore." Others try to make them feel guilty for choosing themselves. They remind them of everything they have done together or question why they suddenly need space. These reactions can be painful because the highly empathetic person never wanted to hurt anyone. They simply reached a point where continuing the old pattern was hurting themselves. Then something unexpected happens. Some people quietly disappear. The phone stops ringing. The messages become less frequent. Invitations suddenly end. At first, this feels heartbreaking. It seems like they are losing relationships they once believed were important. But with time, another truth becomes clear. The people who genuinely cared about them respect their boundaries. They understand the need for rest. They support the healthier version that is beginning to emerge. The ones who only valued constant access slowly fade away because they were attached to what this person provided, not who they truly were. That realization is both painful and freeing. It reveals which relationships were built on mutual care and which ones depended on endless sacrifice. For the first time, they stop measuring love by how much they give. Instead, they begin recognizing relationships where support flows in both directions. That realization hurts, but it also brings clarity. After years of trying to make everyone happy, their priorities begin to change. They realize they cannot keep sacrificing themselves just to earn approval. Instead of asking what others want, they start asking what brings them peace. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but they soon understand that protecting their well-being is not selfish. It is necessary. They stop needing validation from everyone around them. They become comfortable saying no without feeling guilty. They no longer explain every decision or apologize for setting healthy boundaries. Instead of spending their energy trying to please everyone, they choose to protect it. They also begin enjoying time alone. Solitude is no longer loneliness. It becomes a place where they can finally rest and reconnect with themselves. The greatest change is that silence becomes a form of self-respect. They no longer feel the need to defend every choice or respond to every opinion. They understand that peace is far more valuable than constant approval. Ironically, this is when they become emotionally stronger than ever. Many people mistake this change for becoming cold, but that is not the truth. They still care deeply. They still want to help. The difference is that they no longer carry everyone else's problems as their own. They learn that supporting someone does not mean saving them. They offer kindness without sacrificing themselves. They help when they truly can, but they no longer feel responsible for fixing every life they touch. They finally understand that compassion and healthy boundaries can exist together. Their kindness becomes stronger because it comes from a place of balance instead of exhaustion. The breaking point wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something healthier. People often say they have changed, but the truth is different. They did not become cold. They became emotionally honest. They stopped ignoring their own needs just to keep everyone else comfortable. Some people respect this change and stay by their side. Others walk away because they only valued the endless support they once received. As painful as that realization is, it reveals who truly cared about them. The person everyone remembers is still there. They are still kind, still compassionate, and still willing to help. The only difference is that they have finally learned to give themselves the same care they spent years giving to everyone else. A breaking point is often seen as the end of someone's strength, but in reality, it can be the beginning of their healing. It is the moment they stop living only for everyone else and finally remember that their own heart deserves care too. Choosing peace over constant sacrifice is not giving up. It is choosing a healthier way to live. The strongest people are not the ones who never fall apart. They are the ones who find the courage to rebuild themselves without losing their compassion. They continue to love, continue to care, and continue to show kindness. But this time, they no longer forget themselves in the process. So if you've been wondering what really happens when an empath reaches their breaking point, the answer is simple. They don't lose their heart. They find it again. They stop carrying burdens that were never theirs and start creating a life where kindness and self-respect can exist side by side. Maybe an empath's greatest strength isn't feeling everyone else's pain. Maybe it's finally realizing they don't have to carry it alone. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos on psychology, emotional intelligence, and personal growth. Give this video a like if you've ever felt emotionally exhausted from always being the one others rely on. And share it with someone who gives so much of themselves that they've forgotten they deserve the same love, care, and understanding in return. Thank you for watching, and until our next video, take care of others, but never forget to take care of yourself.